Hi, everyone. This is Ashley with Court Reserve. We are really excited that you guys are joining us today. I've got Todd from Oliver Pickleball Club here to tell us all about Todd, what's going on at your club and who you guys are. I've actually muted you, Todd. I need you to, let's see, ask you to unmute
I
yourself.
got it.
Okay,
Thanks.
very good. So let me go ahead and stop this. And I think it's more important that we see Todd today and really get started. So Todd, why don't you tell us a little bit about your pickleball club, where you guys are, and how you kind of got into the pickleball world?
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, pickleball has become my passion over the last about 3 years or so. Basically, I was looking for some way to get out of the house, get out from behind the computer, and get a little exercise and do something with my partner. So pickleball, somehow I just stumbled across it and it was like, oh my God, this is it. And so I've been really excited about it from the beginning. And we had a little pickleball club here. I live in a town about 5,000 people in British Columbia, Canada. So west coast of Canada, right above Washington State. And my town is only about 5,000 people. So really, it's a small place. And we've had a pickleball club for about 5 years. It's purely volunteer kind of club. It's nonprofit, and our fees used to be like $20, So we're for a year, so it's really low key. We've increased the fees a bit, but basically we had 60 members, I think, at the highest until last year, and when COVID hit, suddenly we had to have some kind of system to have our club exist at all, because you couldn't just show up anymore. It had to be regulated and traceable and all that. So someone tipped me on to Court Reserve, and suddenly I was involved with it, and our club during COVID has grown from like 60 sort of half interested members, half active members, to like 100, over 100 like really active. Like our courts are fully used. We only have like 4 courts, but now we have an indoor season. We rented a hangar at the airport. I mean, we're like, it's floating.
That's
So
amazing. Okay,
yeah.
there's something good out of COVID, so that's really good.
Yeah, it's been our best year for sure.
That's amazing. So as far as like, just take us through like the growth, because the audience that we have today is really a lot, and we're going to do a series of these, Todd. So you're kind of our first, and so with you guys being a nonprofit with a board of directors and really volunteer based, we're also going to bring in some clubs that are profit, that are indoors, all different kinds. So I really want you to speak for what you guys do. So tell me a little bit about the leadership of your board and that aspect of your organization.
Yeah, sure. We've got a board. We have 5 members on our board. We have an annual general meeting and we elect these board members, and then we get together. Now we do it on Zoom. Actually, it's kind of even in our own town, and basically it's more the nuts and bolts of how to run the club and little decisions here and there. But pretty much it all revolves around Court Reserve now. It's like, okay, should we do more? Right now we got a requirement from our government that we can only play singles. We were shut down completely in December. We just couldn't play pickleball at all indoors, and it's too cold to play outdoors. So now it's like, okay, singles only. So then we have to have a board meeting and we decide, okay, how are we going to do that? And we decided we'll use the book a court feature, and makes it real easy and all that. But those are the kind of decisions that we make, and we divide up. We have a secretary, treasurer, all the usual stuff, and we divide the tasks. But I'm the main one interfacing with Court Reserve. Like, I'm the one that's kind of holds it for everybody, and then we farm out different tasks to different people.
Okay, very nice. So again, tell us a little bit more about your actual like club. So tell us, you have an outdoor club with so many courts, and then tell us about your club at the hangar, at the airport hangar as well.
Yeah, okay. So our whole club is still a kind of pieced together club. We just like to play. We'll play on a dirt surface if we have to. But we have outdoors, which is what we've had for years, is we have some painted lines on tennis courts. We have
Okay.
to share it with the tennis court people, and they've been pretty good about that. We have certain days and certain times. But it's restricted. We don't have full use of the courts all the time. We're actually in the process of raising money to build full-time courts for ourselves. We're going to build 4, or actually we'd like to build more, but we'll see, outdoors. And what we found this year with our growth really moving, like kind of skyrocketing, and then at the same time, here in Canada, a lot of people in the wintertime go south. The snowbirds go down to Arizona from where we are, or go south to Mexico. And so we usually lose a whole lot of players in the wintertime, and we haven't had any facilities. But this year we knew no one was going anywhere. So we're like, let's see if we can make this happen year round, because we'd love to keep playing. So yeah, we just found an empty warehouse space that wasn't being used. It's an air cadet hangar kind of thing. And they have a few other clubs that use it maybe once a week, but we now use that thing a lot. We have more time playing indoors than we did outdoors, actually.
Wow. So
Yeah.
tell me about, so did you, in the indoor hangar, is it painted lines? Is it tape lines? What kind of netting? Like, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, we just basically measured them out ourselves, and we used tape to tape it down. They wanted to make sure it was not going to mark up their floor permanently, and we tested it out. There was definitely no problem with that. We have movable nets for that. We actually got a grant last year with some more permanent sized movable nets that are really nice. So we're using those, but normally everything we're doing indoor and outdoor is movable nets, and we're just kind of used to that until we get something, more established.
Sure. So I know there are several people on the call today that are, the reason that we know them at Court Reserve is because they're coming to us because they're getting ready to break ground on courts, or they just opened their pickleball facility, recently, or they're actually wanting to open up a pickleball facility. So can you speak to where you guys are right now about finding the land or moving towards, the building of your own courts?
Yeah, it's a process, and it's kind of a process of balancing our highest dreams with what we can actually do in reality, and kind of that's the challenge, because we'd like to build a multiplex thing with like 16 courts, indoor, outdoor, thermal heat, everything just perfect, right? That's our ideal. We start picturing Naples, Florida kind of center after a while, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. But then how far do we compromise? Where's the balance point? And it comes down to funding, of course. We have a lot of support from our city, from our kind of country here, our not country, like the county here. And so we are working with them. They have some money to redo the tennis courts. And at the same time, if we come up with enough money, they'll kind of match that. And so hopefully we'll be able to kind of expand the tennis courts and then have a dedicated, at least 4 pickleball courts dedicated to us. And we'll see. I really do think that we could go bigger. And one of the things that it comes down to is just thinking about how big, what do we actually need? What's the desire? And as long as the club is really interested, the money starts to come in. Like, we raised our prices now. We charge $200 a year for membership, indoor and out, and people just paid that. We've got, I don't know, probably $18,000 or $19,000 in the bank now, which is a nice boost for our fundraising. And then we do fundraising individually as well. But yeah, it's a matter of that balance always between the desire for what we really want and just like, are there doable steps we can move in that direction? I know clubs and this is really intelligent, that have built kind of a certain size courts, a certain amount of courts, with the possibility to enclose them later on, or with the possibility to expand later on, so that they can do it in stages and make it doable. So that's another option that kind of shows up.
Yeah. So have you chosen a builder, or have you gotten to that step yet, as far as like picking out your surface of your court or anything like that yet?
We haven't gotten to the nitty gritty yet. We're still in the fundraising phase, but we're close to that. Part of that's been COVID, like, okay, how much are we going to be able to do? But we're still thinking next summer that we're going to be hopefully maybe actually breaking ground. We do have, we have researched a little bit of court surfacing people because that's an important part of it. And there's at least we have a couple good names of people that have done courts in this area that we can call in on like that. But as far as the hardcore, actually getting estimates and contracts going, we haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah, I just want to let everyone know on the call, we're going to go through some questions and then we're going to answer all of your questions. So while we're talking, feel free to chat your questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll answer those towards the end. So right now it sounds like, talk to me about how the clubs run. It doesn't sound like you have a front desk. It sounds like it's really more self-monitored. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we play with each other all the time. We know each other. It's a small group still. And we have one person dedicated to answering any kind of emails that come in. Like we have a club email, and that is answered on a regular basis. Everyone knows who the board members are. Some of them have their favorites, and they'll contact somebody directly, so it doesn't have to be the secretary. And we have a website, which we kind of keep up to date. Sometimes it gets a little, sometimes a little behind, but more or less we keep it up to date. And right now, because of the COVID restrictions in our indoor play, we're kind of maxed out with our capacity. We only have 3 courts indoors, and we don't have 24/7. So we're actually not accepting new members right at this moment. So we're not actually looking for new people. In the summertime, we'll be able to take some more on, and obviously we can grow. The way it has grown in the past has been simply word of mouth. And here's one of the things that's helped us more than anything, is doing little free Pickleball 101 courses. Like it's a 4 weeks, 1 evening a week or 1 morning a week. And we just run them through the basics of how to play the game. And most of the people who come to those end up joining the club and continuing. So
that's the first great free tip of the day. Offer free education and they will come.
It works so well, and people are so grateful, and they're just, we like to think of it, this is the beginning of, we're just welcoming them in, and we just already think of them as club members, really. And pretty soon, if the game resonates with them, they're like, yeah, I want to play. Because you can pick up here and there a game with random people, but when you're in a club, you've got a bunch of other people that are also wanting to play. So now suddenly it's available, and you know how addictive pickleball is. The first one's free. After that, you're hooked.
Exactly right. Yeah. So that's a good segue really into, tell us about your memberships and how you charge, and what does that look like for your club members?
Yeah, so we charge, we have several different memberships. We have a yearly membership, which is $200. We have a monthly membership, which is $40, and that allows people, some people do go away for a month, or come and go, and this allows people to not sign up for the whole year if they're not going to be there for the whole year. That's the only reason we do that. Most people, we give a good discount for the $40 times. So let me explain that there's one more membership, which is a summer membership. That's also only $40 because our rental in the summer is very cheap. So, excuse me. So basically you got $40 in the summer plus about 6 months of $40 in the winter. I can't do the math quick, but basically you're going to see, I think you save about $80 or something if you buy the yearly membership. And some people just do the summer membership. That's great, no problem. Some people do the whole year, but that seems to be working for us. That's new for us, and so far, no one has complained at all about that. Yeah.
So when I come to your club and I become a member, what does that look like? Does that mean I get to come and now book courts at no charge? Do you charge for courts? What does that look like for classes and clinics? Do you still charge for those? Can you speak to a little bit of that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, membership means you are in. We like the idea of a turnkey operation where you basically pay one fee up front and then you can just play and not think about money for the rest of the time. So once you're a member, you've got, you can use the book a court system to make reservations as much as you want, as much as is available. And you can join in our events as much as you want. We actually do a lot of events. We actually do more events than book a courts with our time. But as far as classes, then we do charge for classes. So, you know, you might pay $40 for, you know, 3 or 4 week class that will give you a little more training specifically in the pickleball sport. Now that a lot of that money will go to the trainer themselves, the coach, but we do take, I think we're taking maybe even 50% on it. So, you know, half goes to the club, half goes to the coach like that. And that seems to be working quite well.
So as far as, you know, what we in court is we call events. Those are all the classes, clinics, camps, anything people sign up for. What are the ones that maybe work the best? What are the best classes you guys have seen? And maybe what have been some that you thought would be good and really didn't pan out?
Okay, well, this is a really interesting question, and it brings up a whole area of events. The way we use events tends to be probably a little bit different than the way even Court Reserve originally designed them to be.
Okay.
We do use them for, you know, classes like I was just mentioning, but most of the time what we find in pickleball is that instead of having like reserving a court, calling somebody, reserving a court, and basically signing up for a time, what we find works really well with pickleball is to create these little events that are free events, but you have to sign up, and they're only people on a certain level of play. We actually divide our club members into different levels, and certain events are only accessible to, you know, say 2.5 or 3.0 or 3.5 or 4.0, like that. So, you know, going in, we call it level play. You know, okay, here's a 3.5 level play option for 2 hours on Saturday afternoon. Okay, I'm going to sign up. And then other people sign up, and there's no coordination whatsoever. You can cancel, you can drop out, you can sign up. And that really works well for people. It's very community building. It helps the new people that don't know anybody yet. They just, sign up, and now they get to know people. And so we use that a lot. This is what we call level play for events. That works really, really well.
Well,
Then
it's
once
like open play.
What's that?
Almost like open play.
Like open play, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's on a particular level. So, you know, we allow people on higher levels to play down if they want to, but they have to play down a little bit. You know, they have to be conscientious of the different level. We don't allow the lower level players to play up. And the idea is most people find that playing with people at their own level is the most fun for them. That's the most, what they grow the most and they enjoy the most. So we tend to separate that out. We're actually in the process of going through, I'm actually becoming a IPTPA rater, which will allow us to actually give official ratings to every member of our club. We're going to include that in membership. So that's something that really makes the tiers fair and for the use of the players. So what we do is we design different events around that as well. We have a round robin event at least once a week. Actually, I think we have several a week now, and those are very popular. That's, again, a time to mix. Pickleball is a social sport. It's played doubles most of the time. So it's fun, and a lot of people come out for the social element as much as for the physical element. So the round robin's very popular. We also do we'll do ladders sometimes, where we'll just have all the courts open, and whoever wins moves up to the right, whoever loses goes down, and it just is another way of dividing it out. There's one called, what is it called? There's another one that we just started, and I can't remember the name of it, but basically there are different ways to play around. Oh, it's called Challenge Court, which is, some of you may have heard. Yeah, it's kind of fun, you know, just another way of getting people to mix it up, and you know, you basically challenge somebody to get their court.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. So
That's awesome. So, particular days of the week, or evenings versus weekends that you guys, I mean, what does that look like as far as your offering?
yeah, so there are kind of two different groups of pickleball players we find. There are a lot of older retired people. They only want to play in the mornings. They're morning people, and so morning is our kind of most full time, I would say. And then there are people who are working people like myself, who really can only play in the evenings or on the weekends. And so we try to mix it up so that there's a fair usage of the courts and availability at those different times. So um, we'll keep plenty of space for retired people available. Sometimes they're in the lower levels, and sometimes we'll just have a few extra of those types of events available for them in the mornings. Evenings we'll maybe do a little more of the uh, like ladders or that kind of thing. It really depends. We'll also mix it in with the book a court stuff, which some of you are not familiar with court reserve. Book a court is where instead of you're just signing up for an event and other people are going to show up, with book a court, you're reserving a time with some friends. It's like a private reservation of court time, and we have it set so you can do a minimum of half hour, maximum of 2 hours, and a maximum of 2 hours per day. So you can't double book and that kind of thing. So we mix that in as well, so that some people want to just do some drills. Some people want to do, they want to practice, or even there are some few coaches around. We don't really have them officially a part of our club, but some people want to take a lesson with somebody privately. They can reserve a court time for that. But our priority goes to the group play, because that seems to be what most people are wanting.
Yes, and it keeps them coming back, especially the new people, because then they get better and they learn. You make friends and they become your family. You play with these people all the time, and so that's
Yes.
really incredible. I love the fact that you do that. So I know it sounds like most of your organization or your players are more adult or maybe senior. Do you have any young people? Any young people? Tell us about what you guys are doing with that.
Yeah, we do have a few. We would like to do more. The future of the sport is always in the young people, and it's amazing to play with them, especially because they have so much energy. They're so athletic to begin with. They don't even have to know the skills, and they're already, beating us, which is great. Yeah, we have one kid who's like 19 or 20 now, and in like in just a few weeks of playing, he was already like taking over. You could just see he'd played volleyball. I think his father was athletic and mother athletic, so he came by it naturally and just took to it, and really enjoyed interacting with the adults, right? But we would love to have more younger people in, and I think the way to do that again is going to be offering free types of classes. We haven't really explored, but I could see us maybe even doing something for the high school, or doing something where we offer very specific classes for younger people. And you have to taste it. You can't pickleball if you just see it or hear about it. It's a funny name. It's kind of like, what is that? And then, but once you get into it, once you experience it, it's like, whoa, there's something goes off inside. Like this is a fun game. And I think young people have to see that other young people are playing it before they're going to take the leap. If it's just a bunch of old people, then they're like, I'll play something else. So I think that's something we could move into more. Right now, our court space is kind of tight, but I think that's something that would really benefit our club.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that, especially from the tennis side to the pickleball side, there's a lot of conversion, from tennis to pickleball, or they still play both. Can
Yeah.
you talk about that a little bit? Because I know you guys play on some tennis courts. Have you had some tennis people see you play and maybe come over and now they play both, or any experience with that?
Yeah, there are a number of people that play both, and some people just went to pickleball and stayed with pickleball. Basically, you've got the whole gamut there. Um, one thing that we don't have indoor tennis courts in our town also. So some people in the wintertime, they want to stay in shape. So they're tennis players in the summertime, but in the wintertime, they play pickleball. And yeah, there's always this little, there has been in many clubs around the world that I've heard of, and it showed up here a little bit too, sort of this like us versus them, like tennis versus pickleball thing. It comes up sometimes, like our sport is better than your sport, and that kind of thing. And the way we've dealt with that has been to first of all try to collaborate. We're thinking of creating tennis courts and pickleball courts, improving both of them at the same time, and then also just communicating. We have a mixer once a year where we all get together, or we did before COVID hit, where we all get together, have like a potluck, and it's tennis club and pickleball club. And the more of those kind of events that we can do, the more that there's a face on the other side of the divide, then it starts to be like, just we're all in this together. We just like to play. It's very similar sports, and there can be a lot of cross-pollination as well.
Yeah, definitely. Can you, as far as like managing the kind of the members of your club, you have some different ages, you probably have families versus individuals. Can you give some tips around your member management? And to add on to that, around how to manage those members with some of the restrictions for courts, because like you said, they can only reserve a court, so often. Kind of talk about that as well, because that can get kind of sketchy in some clubs when you start putting restrictions on how often members can book courts, especially when your courts start to fill up, members feel the squeeze, and sometimes you have to deal with things like that.
Yes, it is. It's something that we've had to deal with, and it's something that is kind of an ongoing thing. There's a limited resource, and there's a lot of demand for that resource. And people are paying a membership fee, so like they want to get what they paid for, right? So there's that mentality. And what the way we handle it, we tend to do as a board, is we tend to just really listen to what each person is coming to, like they're complaining about they're not getting enough court time or something. And we try to really listen and think, like, get them in with us, thinking about how can we solve this problem. It's not that we're trying to restrict you, it's that we've got a problem that we as a group are dealing with, and if you have ideas, then let's play with them. So we try to include them, and we also give them the sense that we'll bend the universe to make it happen for you. I don't know what's physically possible, but we will do everything we certainly we possibly can. And so when people meet up against that, there's no resistance, and they're not they suddenly get included in this kind of group experience. Then they start getting creative too. And then they're basically on the board along with us and solving their own problem.
That's exactly right. And there's always, if you're out of court space, write a big check and we'll build more courts. I mean, that's definitely the the
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So then it all comes down to like, what can we do? Like the sky's the limit. We could have 16 courts here. I bet you we could fill them too. So like, how far do we go? And do you have any ideas how we could get, we could go into a little more fundraising, where, just the whole thing starts to be about what can we do rather than what can you do for me, which ends up being a lot of animosity. But just to answer your question about court reserve, one of the things that I love about this system is that it allows us to really dial it up or dial it back, right? We don't have unlimited time, but we can just say, okay, you know what? You can book up to 2 hours, but now it's only 5 days a week, maximum of 5 days a week. And now suddenly we've got more space. And if that's too much, we can dial it down. We can either dial it down to like 3 days a week or 4 days a week, or we could reduce the playing time. Instead of 2 hours per session max, we can dial it down to 90 minutes or even 1 hour. Right now, we're only allowed to play singles. So right now we are actually not doing any events. We're not doing any of those open or level play type things. We're not doing any round robins. We're not doing any of that. We're restricted. We can have 6 people in the building max. So that means on 3 courts, we have to manage that. And right now we've got it pretty well balanced where it's not a problem. But if it starts getting a little more popular this winter, we will just scale it back either to 90 minutes, or we'll bring it down to 5 days a week, or whatever we need to do. And this is a really fair way of dealing with it. There's nobody, this is for all of us. It's not like we're singling someone out and saying, you can't play. It's
Right.
very fair.
Right. I like that. Thanks for the plug. The reason that we started this pickleball series is because we have so many new clubs coming to us. And while we're talking about the software side of Court Reserve, they're asking us, hey, so tell us, what kind of court surface should we get? Or, do you have a rep that sells paddles? And we're like, wow, we have a real opportunity to educate the pickleball world with people just like you and other clubs who have already done all of this. We can handle the software side, but we'll let you guys who do this every day educate them on, how things are run and things like that. So I think what we're going to do now, we're going to take some of these questions because they are rolling in.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to start here. Let's see. Jim would like to hear more about your billing and member communications. Maybe, do you guys use point of sale in Court Reserve? Do you sell balls or Gatorades or anything?
No, we don't. We don't
Okay,
have any kind of specific, like, no, we're not selling extra stuff. We may look into that because we do end up selling balls to people. That's one of the common things. We'll buy 100 balls and we'll sell them to people, but we've been just doing that kind of with cash or something. We actually probably need to look into point of sale and see if that would benefit us. Yeah, how about that?
So he asked about member communications. How do you communicate with your members right now?
Okay, basically, I would say probably the most common way is by email. That'll be like, if you have a problem, you email us. But all our phone numbers are also available. We do get some calls, and also right at the court. A lot of communication happens when you show up on court, and somebody's like, "Hey, I was meaning to ask you, can you do this or that?" And that's the beauty of this physical sport that we're playing. We're actually coming together. The Court Reserve's great, Zoom's great. It's all great, but there's actually a physical closeness that happens in this sport, and that's one of the draws to it as well.
Okay, that's great. So Andy asked, are you charging $200 per year and $40 per month?
No, we're paying, if you buy a year membership, that's $200. That includes all the monthly memberships and the summer membership. It's all included. So it's like a package deal, and the monthly is if it's a little more expensive, but if you're not buying as many of them, then that's the package for you.
Okay. So Amanda asked, do you anticipate a membership increase if and when you build your newer facility, like membership increases?
I do anticipate that, and we can handle it because right now outdoors, we're only allowed really just mornings and evenings. We don't have the full day, and partly it gets hot in the middle afternoon in the outside. But once we have 4 dedicated courts, we'll be able to start as early as we want. We can start at 6 a.m. if we wanted and go till 9. If we get lights on our pickleball courts, this is something, if you can have the chance to get lights on your courts, then now your playing time can be extended out to, you could play till 10 at night or something, or even later if you wanted to. Now, one thing I've heard about pickleball courts that do have lights is that if it's in a residential area, there's a noise that pickleballs create. There's a sound of that pop, 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 and people do complain about that. So you have to make sure you're in an area that's not going to be bothered by that.
Good. That's a good tip for sure. So Stuart asked, he missed the beginning of the call. You reside up in British Columbia.
That's right. Yep. Little town of Oliver, British Columbia. Yep.
Oliver.
About 5,000 people.
Okay. Amanda said that when you start looking at the expenses of running a facility, $40 a month seems extremely low.
Ha! And for me, I'm thinking it's extremely high.
Right?
Yeah, we used to run our club on $20 a year membership. It was outdoor only, but we paid something like $200 or $300 for the use of the courts for the whole summer. So it was very cheap. City was subsidizing a lot of that, and that's one thing. With our hangar, we're paying $1,000 a month to rent that hangar space, and it's a great deal for us. Actually, very cheap. So we're getting a good deal. So when we have 100 members and they're paying 200 a year or $40 a month or somewhere in there, we are literally all winter, we're going to spend maybe $6,000 in overhead, and the summer another 500 or something. There might be a few other expenses, so round it out to like maybe $7,000. And we've already brought in, we're getting close to $20,000. So we're way in the black for this. And that's a really nice sigh of relief, because it's not, the beauty of pickleball is that it's so cheap to do, except for the court, right? The court is the expensive part, but the actual running of the day-to-day facility, it requires almost nothing. We're a lot of volunteers, sure, but still it's not that expensive. Now, if this was a paid club and I was needing to have a salary drawn on that, then yes, now we're talking $200 may not be enough, right? So you have to judge your own. We're trying to keep it cheap to make it really accessible. We're not trying to make money, so we just keep the fees low. But I know pickleball clubs like up in Vernon, BC, where they're charging, they're charging way more than that. Like I don't know the exact figures, but it's in the hundreds of dollars, and that's fair. And people play, and they have tons of members. So don't cut yourself low just because I'm using a low figure. Yeah.
Well, and I think it depends on your community and the space you have, and so there's a lot that goes into that. So I mean, I appreciate you speaking on that, definitely. So Dave asked, what restriction do you have on how many court bookings a member can have?
Yeah, so this is great. Great question. Right now, our restrictions are you can do one booking a day. So basically, you can reserve. Right now, we're only on book a court because we're playing singles, and so we have reservation limit of one 2-hour max booking per day for any member, and that seems to be enough for us. If right now there are a lot of people not playing because they're still a little scared of COVID, so if things start coming in the new year, we're almost to full. Our schedule is almost full. So we will start scaling it back to like I mentioned before, either 5 days a week or down to 90 minutes max or something like that to measure it out. Now, one issue that we do run into, and I haven't figured out how to solve this with Court Reserve, is that our mornings are always full, but our weekends and afternoons are not always full. So it's like if there would be a way to restrict it in one particular time period instead of and not restricted another, then that would be kind of like the holy grail. But I don't think
we got you for that. We have something called custom schedulers. We can talk to you about that, where you can actually set different time frames for different days of the week. So your prime time, you can actually set to where you maybe do 90-minute court rentals, and then during the week you can do 2 hours. So we can talk about that. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, that would solve our problem just like that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so the next question is from Andy. What type of people play in the middle of the day, as you referenced morning and evening?
I assume you mean afternoons. It would be a mix. It would be afternoon people are going to be still retired. If we're talking about middle of the week, they'd have to be retired, or shift workers. Some people work nights and they'll play in the afternoon. We tend to find less people playing in the afternoon. It's just, there's something about exercising in the morning that really works. There's something about in the summertime, the heat of the afternoon that detracts. But when given a choice between not playing and playing in the afternoon, like right now, we've gotten 3 extra afternoons in our hangar that are now available, and they are filling up. So it's just a matter of demand. So yeah, I would say it's people that can play in the afternoon, and that would mainly be retired people or shift type people. The evening people tend to be people who work. They tend to be younger, and the morning people tend to be older. That seems to be our experience.
Nice. So I know you've already answered this question, but Michael said, what do you pay for your indoor hangar facility? And that was $1,000 a month, right?
We pay $1,000 a month, yeah.
All right. So Jim asked, does Court Reserve provide for group notifications of clinics, leads, and special events? We do have email notifications right now, Jim, and we're happy to schedule a call and talk to you about that later on. So you can reach out to our support team and we can do that. So Robert from Pickleballers USA Had some website for some ideas on some indoor pricing. So if you guys are interested, you can click there. Let me go over to my Q&A. We've got some more questions over here. So Jeffrey asked, because they pay the membership fee, you are not then charging them to pay a court fee when they play, because the membership fee basically gives them the ability to play on the courts for free. They would only charge, you would only charge them for any event, class, clinic that they would sign up for, that you would then charge them, correct?
Yes, this is where we just have this idea of turnkey, you know, like when you just pay your $200, you're in. Now you can reserve courts and you can participate in the free events, which are most of our events in terms of like round robins and level play type programs and anything like that. Now, the only thing they'll actually pay in addition is if they are taking a clinic, which would be, they would be paying to the person, they'd be paying to the club, but the club would pay the person who's training them as well.
Or the coach. Yeah. Okay. So Robert had some questions kind of around juggling the level of play with your members. So you already talked about really the level play, the open play, that you keep it based on their ratings. So new people would play with newer people. How do your more advanced players react to I guess some new people coming in? And you're currently getting ready to rate players to create your groups and to play with. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the rating thing is a really important part of the club, and I think it's going to become even more of a important part of it. Basically, it's not the more advanced players don't feel any threat from new people coming in because they have to qualify to get up to play with them. If they're on the same level, then great, there's no problem. If they're not on the same level, they can't play with them. And so we actually, right now, we've been using a self-rating system. It doesn't work that great in terms of people always inflate their ratings. So, you know, you get a lot of people all getting really close to 4.0 in their minds when they're actually probably in the 3.0 range. But what we're now going to do is a couple of us have taken training, and I highly recommend this for you. You have to be a 4.0 player, but if you can become a certified rating specialist with IPTPA, the training, it's an independent organization for pickleball. You go to iptpa.com, I believe it is.
Okay.
And for not much money, you can get trained to rate people. It's a very fair rating system. You actually have to do these skills tests, and people have to get a certain amount correct, and then they play with a person of their level, and they have to get a certain number of points. And the whole thing's just systematized. So we're going to start rolling that out, and what we're going to do to start with is we're going to include that as part of our membership fee, so that the first testing until they actually get a rating is going to be included in the membership. And then when they want to advance, then they'll pay for, you know, the person to rate them again to get a higher rating. So this kind of thing, and it's so easy to keep track of in Court Reserve, is like you just put in their rating and you adjust it. And then as soon as they're in the 3.5 level, all the events for 3.5 are now, they can now book those.
That's right.
And so it just makes it super easy to keep people separate in a way that's not at all competitive or feeling like that people are being locked out. And now that we're using this skill-based system, it's going to be just so clear, like you either passed it or you didn't pass it. And you can, and here's the really cool thing, I love this, is that because it's a test, like we know what the test is going into it. You got to do a certain number of drop shots, certain number of this, that, and the other, and you've got to go through this checklist and get a certain number in. Then people will actually be practicing that on their own because they want to pass the test. You know?
Right.
So in the background, it ends up increasing our skills and bringing us up as a club at the same time. And everybody's just basically competing against themselves. So that's the most ideal situation for us.
That's awesome. I love that. So that's pretty cool. Robert, I had another question. How do you handle insurance, like not being sued if someone gets injured? And do you use waivers, or do you have anything like that?
Yeah, really important question. Insurance is an important part of having a pickleball club. If you don't have insurance, definitely get it. There are insurance companies that will insure your club. I'm not the one that's taken care of that, but if someone needs specific information about that, I can tell you what we're doing. Another thing, so you need two kinds of insurance. One is the insurance for your club in general, like the I guess is the court, anything happening on that court. And the other is individual insurance for each player. It's not required as a part of the club, but what we'd like to do is we include membership in Pickleball BC and Pickleball Canada. So it could be the same thing in the States with the pickleball associations there. And it's not much, like I think it's $7 or $8 a year or something to be a member of that. And we just include it as part of our club fee. And then everybody's insured. They can play, they're insured no matter where they play, anywhere in the world, basically.
That's awesome. Yeah, one of our attendees, Michael, said the United States APA has a new program for that. So
yeah, very common. It's worth looking into. Just check it out. Yeah,
that's really cool. Thank you, Michael, for putting that in. So we have of course, we have a hard stop at 5 o'clock, and we've got a couple more questions. We're talking around. Let's see. We talked about the certified rater. Talk about how you guys, have you had any really competitive players that maybe kind of mess up the vibe, and how do you go about handling that member and bringing his vibe down?
Okay, so when you say really competitive, what do you mean? Like someone really skilled, or somebody who's like in your face kind of thing?
Aggressive was the word they used. Aggressive,
yeah. Of course, every club has these. This is why, this is comes with the territory. You're going to have some aggressive types of people. And so how do you deal with them? Again, the thing that the way we handle aggression most effectively is just to listen with wide open arms, to whatever they're complaining about. 9 times out of 10, they just need to vent this thing and get it off their chest. And then when they realize you're not fighting with them about whatever it is they're complaining about, then they start to be able to listen to what's actually a possible solution to it, or that it's just a difficult problem we're all trying to figure out, don't know what the solution is, and we start to include them in that process. So that's one thing. Now, there is something that's very common with that type of player. Well, there's kind of 2 types of players mixed in here together. One is the aggressive type person, and the other is the real person that's always giving advice kind of person. And both of them can be really annoying to people, and especially to people that are very sensitive and are a little more timid, are just kind of not so sure of themselves already. And then somebody's like kind of pushing them. And that is something that we look out for. We have it just as a policy. No advice giving. Please don't give advice unless you've been asked for it. And so we as board members, if we see it, we'll just mention, and we don't make a public thing. We don't shame them, but we'll take them aside and just say, please don't do that, and here's why, and just give them the understanding that that doesn't fly here. If somebody was just consistently ignoring us and becoming a real pain, then we would kick them out. There's a limit to how far we would go. But most of the time, this stuff can be resolved just with a little kindness and flexibility, understanding that, first of all, they're human. They're doing the best they can, probably. And the person that's hurt, or feeling threatened is human. And there's always going to be a way to work it out if we can just be, gentle and easy about it. So
right, and human. So, all right, a couple more questions. What are your restrictions around cancellation of court bookings?
Okay, yeah, we've experimented with different ways. The way our system works right now, what seems to work best is we allow cancellations up to the last minute. Now, that is probably not what all courts will want to do, all clubs will want to do. If there's a lot of competition to get in there, then I can see the value of having a window available to cancel out earlier. But what we found is people, if people canceled even at the last minute, there was somebody willing to jump in a lot of times. And so we just I've kind of left it at that right now.
Okay. So I know Stuart asked about, do you charge less for pickleball memberships than tennis memberships, but you guys only run the pickleball part of your facility,
We
right?
just run the pickleball part. Yeah, tennis club is completely separate, and I don't know how they run it actually.
Okay. But do you pay the tennis club to play on their courts or?
No, both the tennis court and the pickleball court pay the city to rent
Okay.
the court.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. We've talked about aggressive players. We talked about insurance. We talked about cancellations. So I guess, this is probably a good question at the end. Debbie asked, hi, Todd, how has your court reserve experience been so far? Is it meeting the needs of your club for reservation bookings?
That would be 1,000% yes. I have been very happy with Court Reserve. Now, to be fair, I didn't try a bunch of other different systems. It just came at the right time. I said, yes, let's try it. And it has, what it has done in a weird kind of way has brought our club together. It has allowed us to work as a club, even during a COVID year, where we now, first of all, have everybody's member name and number and email. We can call each other and email each other, so we're in touch. Before, that wasn't happening. We have these little group events, and so right now it's not happening, but in the summer we could just drop in and at the last minute sign up and join with 16 other people playing pickleball and have a great time. So it took the guesswork out of it. Everyone was relieved once we got the system in place, because before it was like, oh, who's playing? Is the court free? I'm not sure if I can play or not. Like, maybe I'll drop by. Like, all the guesswork's taken out of it. Now we know, in advance, and our schedule goes up a week in advance. People can sign up, and usually it's full within a day. So people are like waiting, looking like, okay, I've got a book for next week, and they're in there. And it's just this energy, like we're all like, can't wait to get in, kind of thing. So Court Reserve has unified and made cohesive our club. And I think without it, it would just be we'd probably be sitting around this year at like 20 members, the few people that managed to just hang on. So
That's right. Growing. Appreciate that a lot. So there's been a lot of questions around like certain functionality in Court Reserve and things of, and we've talked about a lot of that, but I'm not going to get into that today. If anybody on the call is interested in learning more, please reach out to our customer support team. We'll set up a one-on-one call with you and take you through Court Reserve. But this today was really all about, bringing the experience and advice from Todd and Oliver Pickleball and what it's done for you guys and your community, and sharing that with lots of other people who want to do pickleball in their club or opening a pickleball club. We will post this recording to YouTube. Give us a couple days to do that, but it'll be up by Monday of next week. And again, we're going to continue to do these series and learn from each other and try and grow pickleball as a sport, across the world, for sure. So I appreciate you so much, Todd, for spending your time with us today. Give our best to all of the great members at Oliver Pickleball Club. And I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and we appreciate your time today. My pleasure. Yeah. And I just want to say one more thing is that one of the things that makes it so pleasurable to work with Court Reserve is that Ashley and the whole team there is so responsive. So Ashley knows me. I'll be texting or emailing in every few days sometimes with another question or another little issue or another. And if they don't already know the solution, they're building the solution for it. So, the whole thing, I feel like you guys are part of our club, and it's just like, we've got the tech team right here built in. So yeah, I mean, we were coming to see you in June, and we're gonna come and see you. So right on. Great. So thanks again. Appreciate all your time, and yeah, we'll see you guys soon on the next Court Reserve webinar. Take care. Thanks.